My army lists on pen and paper. Hello, everyone, and welcome, if you don't mind the hair, to another SkaredCast video. I'm Skari, your grateful host, and this is another one of the editions of the Patreon videos unlocked. So sit back, relax, while we go through Patreon submitted army lists, which I do every Friday on Patreon, and we talk about army lists. And I basically read the army list, and then I give you my thoughts. So this is going to be a live show. Welcome to everybody in chat. Thank you for tuning in. If you're tuning in live from anywhere around the world, I hope you enjoy it. It's a great way to just kind of sit, relax, chat. We're going to go to questions. If you have any questions, you can put them in the chat or leave a comment down below. I tend to answer all my comments. It has been a fantastic week so far. I hope you're having a good time as well, with events opening up and army lists kind of like being like more produced in that way. It's nice to see everybody. And yes, Fraser said, nice to see somebody using pen and paper. I still use pen and paper quite a lot when I'm building and writing army lists. Why? There's something inherently natural about having, 5 or 6 books, flipping through them and jotting like information down on a piece of paper. But how do you write your army list? Let me know down below. Do you use Battlescribe? Do you use the Warhammer app? Do you use pen and paper? Do you use a notepad, like on the computer? Do you, I don't know, think about it in your head and sort of like guesstimate? Do you use power level? Do you use points? I'm curious. I like it. Josh and Muffins says they feel so involved now, which is great. Citizen Cake is a fantastic name as well. Okay, so let's dive in. So there are 2 places where someone can submit a list for me to review every Friday. One of them is on the thread that I post on Patreon every Friday morning, called List Crunch Submission Thread. That's very much my imagination going wild. And we like to say that your army list is like part of a healthy diet. You start with a healthy dose of crunch, a list crunch. It's kind of like a dose of food, cereal, that sort of thing. And we kind of go from there. And then the second place is on the Patreon Discord, where we have a whole Discord thread that's List Crunch, where folks can put lists throughout the course of the week. And I review them and I talk about them. People can develop their lists, and we talk about concepts and weird relics and cool warlord traits. And sometimes we read lists and find mistakes in them and go, that's not allowed, or things like that. So it's a great sort of process which we all use, which is awesome. Daniel says, pen and paper, old school, baby. Pen and paper, scribble all over my notes, says Harry. Always using Battle Scribe. Good day, Captain Athenos. What is going on? Usually in my head, says Theo. Interesting. Well, however it is that you decide to develop your list, thank you for tuning in. Let's break down some of these really cool lists, and then I'm going to share my list at the end. The list that I've been working on the most lately this week. And then you'll get to kind of, review that. I did want to give everybody a bit of a heads up. I'm doing a new series called The Back Seat Archon, which is going to be great. I got Damien, my guy, to do a cool little thumbnail for it. I posted it up in some of the community stuff. And I'm essentially going to be watching someone play Dark Eldar, and I'm going to comment on it the entire time, from list building to like strategic notes. And so that's going to be going live. I'm going to do like a live show on Twitch, and then I'll be like posting it. I don't know, maybe it'll just be like a whole live show. I think it'll be really fun. So, and it is called the Backseat Archon, and I'm going to be in character the whole time, and I will judge the hell out of a Dark Eldar player. Now, if you it is 4 p.m. for me, yeah. If you know of a really cool battle report, of course, one that's fun, it's painted models, it's easy for me to access, and seems like a fun sort of like game for me to review, send me a message. Email me, at SkaredCast@gmail.com. Send me an email, message me on Facebook, Patreon, whatever, on the Discord. and be like, hey, it'd be really cool if you did that with this video. Anyway, we'll get to that eventually. But that's essentially the really fun part of what we're doing. Monte says he likes the idea. Nice. Well, it wasn't my idea, it was King's idea. He like put it in the Discord. I have a content suggestions area. So there's a content suggestion idea, and I was like, ooh, this is a cool idea. So I've been developing how to execute that idea over the last like 3 weeks. So finally should be happening this week. So stay tuned for that. I think it will be really fun. It'll be really, really fun. Okay, let's dive into the first couple of um, army lists. Now, of course, you go onto the Patreon page. I go to the list crunch submission thread. Oh my goodness, I don't know why that was such a mouthful for me. Make sure you have a cup of tea, coffee. Cheers to everybody. I am drinking a giant cup of water and or a giant cup of juice, depending on the color of the liquid in my cup. Daniel says you should never have another Archon behind you in a back seat. They'll stab you. No, they won't might stab you. They'll physically stab you. There's like, we were just talking to Andy Chambers, who wrote the whole Path of the Archon, like Omnibus and Battlefield Gothic and, StarCraft 2. We had him on Twitch today in the Just Put Paint on It Twitch show. So if you haven't like watched the Twitch show, every Tuesday through Friday, 11 a.m., we have really cool guests. Tanya, the War Mistress from Be Nice, Roll Dice, and myself. We sit down with some really cool guests and we chat. And today it was Andy Chambers. Andy freaking Chambers. It was awesome. Love chatting. It was a really good time. That is more a vase than a cup. It's a lot of water in here, a lot of liquid. I believe this vessel is used for beer. Do I drink beer? No, but I drink water. Anyway. And with that, considering we've been at it for like 7 minutes, everyone's like, get on with the show, Skari. Why are you still talking about random stuff? So let's start with Matthew. Matthew submitted a list. And sometimes there are like comments before the list and things they want me to discuss specifically with the list. If you end up wanting to send me a list for the list crunch, make sure you post it, and then you can give me like a comment. Hey, I want you to like pick apart this part of my list. Awesome. Let my 23 years of experience help you. Okay, Matthew says, posting the start of a new guard list. I still have points to add. The theme is to hold everything or die trying. Okay, let's see how this sort of holds up to the theme itself. So we have a battalion detachment of Death Corps of Krieg. Now, Death Corps of Krieg, of course, have access to the horses, the riders, the Death Riders. They had a bit of a point increase in the latest chapter approved. However, I believe they are still very good for the points that you pay for them. But let's see what he's put in here. So Death Rider Command Squad ×2. So just 5 Death Riders, or is it 4 Death? So 4 Death Riders. So Death Rider Command Squad, 2 of them. So that's 8 horses in 2 squads. 1 Inquisitor with Terrify, Castigation. He's an Alpha class Psyker with a Black Shroud, Bolt Pistol. He's an Ordo Malleus Inquisitor with a Warding, Incantation, and the Arbiter of the Emperor's Will. So he gets a free, 1 CP, Relic, and Warlord trait for a CP. I do like the Inquisitor in a lot of Imperium lists. I think it adds a lot of versatility matchup-wise. The Psychic powers are good utility things to have in your back pocket. And especially if it's a Psyker, you get access to like damage in the Psychic phase, reliable damage in the Psychic phase, which you can then use, to kind of do damage to like a Satan or a Gazgul or things like that as well. Death Corps Marshal, yeah, makes sense. 2 Death Rider Squadron Commanders with Power Swords. Yeah, they're fantastic. They were FAQ'd recently to be able to issue orders to cavalry, so that's a good thing to do. 2 units of 30 conscripts. Yep. I like cheap bodies. I think that is a great thing in this edition. 2 units of 5 Tempestor Scions. 2 Astropaths, 1 with Fortitude and 1 with Night Shroud. okay, and one with Psychic Barrier. So you're making them fearless, so they don't run away. You're making them -1 to hit, and then Psychic Barrier for the +1 saves, which is great. And I believe you can double that up with the Inquisitor's Psychic Power, I believe, which is not castigation. Anyway, I think that's just a mortal wound thing. But there is a way that you could like add in stuff there where like you can give them an invulnerable save, then increase the buff, then -1 to hit. So you have like 30 conscripts with like an invul save that's a extra bonus invul save, thanks to the +1 to saves, the Psychic Barrier, and then on top of that, they're fearless. And then they just don't run away, they sit on objective, and they stay there for much longer than they're supposed to. And then three units of 10 Death Riders. 600 points, though. They are really good. I like them. So that's 1,450 points. You're playing 1,500 points, I would assume, which is a decent point value. The only thing I feel like you lack is something that can reach out and touch someone. Like if you were to say, like drop one of the astropaths and then like, I don't know, one of the conscript units and just have one block of 30. Like it's a little different, but then you could add in like a manticore or a basilisk or something. I just feel like you need something to like reach out and touch someone just while your cavalry gets there, essentially. And that's the only thing I would see from this list. Like you've got a good concept, board control, pressure on the objectives, durability, but you just need something to like reach out and like touch someone. Basically, I think that's the only thing you're missing. But yeah, I hope I'm looking forward to seeing how you evolve that list, which would be really cool. Okay, so then we have Josh and Muffins. Josh and Muffins, love that name, by the way. Fantastic name on Patreon. I am finally up to 2,000 points of Drukhari. I have some painting to do, but I know I need to begin switching things out to get more competitive. I could use some recommendations on which models to chase first to upgrade my list. Thanks, Skari. Hope you're doing well this Friday. I am doing great. Thank you for asking. It's always fun. Reach out and touch face. Exactly. Reach out and touch my face. Don't do that. Don't walk up to me and touch my face. Please don't. So then you have 2,000 points. Let's see how we kind of like work on this. But we've got a patrol detachment of Dark Creed with an alchemical maestro Homunculus with that's it. 10 Hemoxites with 3 liquefier guns, 1 rack unit, 5 strong. Then a patrol detachment of Poison Tongue with an Archon Master with a blast pistol Venom Blade, interesting, with the Splinter Genius. Drazar, 1 unit of 10 Trueborn, double blaster Dark Lance, 2 units of 5 Trueborn with Shredders, 5 Incubi, 1 Ravager with Lances, 1 Razor with interesting, and a Splinter Cannon, so going for the Splinter Cannon on that. 2 Raiders, 3 double cannon Blade Veins Venoms, and then Splinter Racks and Blade Veins on the Raiders, and then 1 with a Shock Brow. So quite a few upgrades on these vehicles. And then a Cultist Strife Patrol, Succubus, with Triptych Whip and Competitive Edge, okay? And then 10 Witches with all the weapons, Agonizer, Blast Pistol, and then like the 3 different special weapons. And then 9 Reaver Jet Bikes, 3 Heat Lances, 3 Grav Talons. So the standard loadout for the Reaver Jet Bikes. So it's very hard to make a bad Dark Eldar list. And this Dark Eldar list has the tools that you need for your 2,000 points. Like it's 2,000 points on the nose. Reavers, I like Reavers personally. They're a little bit less effective than they were with like a lot of out of line of sight shooting being around, like Admech, Scorpius, Disintegrators. They tend to kill Reaver jet bikes pretty quickly, or like full payload Manticores or Death Guard, Plague Burst crawlers. They tend to kill Reaver jet bikes pretty quickly. So in a way, you just have to be careful with them, right? If you go first, they're fantastic. You can really put a lot of pressure on your opponent with them. If you go second, then they tend to hurt. So you can put them in deep strike or like outflank or deep strike or something if you really need to try keep them alive, which is good. Big unit of witches is fine. I feel like you could like drop some upgrades and make your succubus a master succubus. Being able to jump in, attack, and then leave with the show stealer is incredible. So if you could find 15 points to make that happen, excellent. Combination of warlord trait and relics works good. And then you're spending 5, 10, 15, 20, 25 points on blade veins. Do you need that many? No, I don't think you do. It's a lot of it. Yes, the tanks do a lot of attacks, but at the same time, they're the first thing to die. The double cannons on the poison tongue venoms, I love. I think they're great. And I just think you could, and the shock prow's good. So I feel like you could save like 25 points on blade veins. You don't really need those. And then put like 15 points into the succubus, and that gives you like 10 points left over, which I guess you could spend on making the Cabalite Warrior shredders into blasters. That sort of thing. Other than that, the Razorwing Jet Fighter is an interesting choice. If anything, you could potentially like drop that and then put in like mandrakes. I think you really need like mandrakes in this list. They're like a very technical piece that helps you competitively. The fact that you can have like forward deployment and like a line to stop like the Necrons from coming at you or the Dominions from like moving up into the middle of the board is like 150 points with 2 units of mandrakes. That really helps you like shore up the space so that people don't get too close to you. And then if you go second, they're sacrificed, and if you go first, they can put up a data Octaris data in a table quarter, and the other squad can like go back into reserve. Like there's a lot of technical like things you can do with them. So I feel like you could definitely use some mandrakes in there. But I hope that helps. I know they're hard to come by nowadays because it's like they're all sold out everywhere. So I've seen a lot of people convert mandrakes. I think that's a good choice as well. Then we have Charles. Charles posting a list as well. Fantastic. Okie dokie, okie dokie. Where is this? Oh. And if you have any questions in chat, make sure you post them. Hi, Skari. This is the list. Oh, no, that's not the one. First version of a new list I'm testing without Dark Technomancer. Of course, Dark Technomancer got that FAQ change, which changed the liquefy guns, but it kept Chronos pretty much unchanged, which I think is like still really good. Like if you don't know what Chronos do, you're missing out because Chronos are killy. Like they are killy. But we have a battalion detachment. Cursed. Is it? Oh, it's a battalion detachment. Real space rated detachment. Okay, fair enough. So Cursed Blade, Black Heart, and Prophets of Flesh in a real space raid. When doing a real space raid, I definitely think Cursed Blade, Black Heart is like better than Strife. Like so, Cursed Blade better than Strife in a real space raid detachment, and then Blackheart you need for a real space raid detachment because the Writ of the Living Muse that just opens up so many different options. And then of course Prophets of Flesh. Do you need Prophets of Flesh? No, I personally like Dark Techno Monsters still, or Dark Creed as well. So we have an Alliance of Agony and 2 additional prizes of the Dark City. Chord of the Archon, Lamian, 3 Slith, 4 Urgle. Pretty standard Chord of the Archon there. It's like the Nick Nanavati special, but you take out 1 Slith, put in a Lamian, so that you can have leadership better than leadership 6, because without a Lamian, they're like really low leadership. An Archon Master with an Agonizer Blast Pistol. I wouldn't. Why the Agonizer? He's Black Heart, right? I guess that makes sense. The Agonizer's not bad, but like Venom Blade's pretty much the same. It would probably be better than the Agonizer. Then we have a Homunculus, Master Homunculus with Vexator Mask and the Twisted Animator, which is, in my opinion, one of my favorite new Warlord traits. Being able to bring back D3 racks every turn is incredibly powerful. I really like that Warlord trait. And then a Succubus, a Master Succubus with Precision Blows, Dancer's Edge. Very cool. So I'm assuming it's like, and then the Archite Glaive, which is a 3 damage. Oh no, Archite Glaive was the Precision Blow Stratagem. Dancer's Edge. Oh, Dancer's Edge is the special glaive, I think. And then Mortal Woundy thingy, which is good. Not bad. I like it. I think it works, especially if you're doing the plus extra strength and it, so you can like even take down tanks with her. Succubuses, by the way, for 75 points, still the most OP character I've ever seen in Warhammer. Like, I played a game recently where I had the Triptych Whip Blood Dancer go in and like, she's 75 points. She killed like 400 points of my opponent's army before she went down. 75 points. Incredible. She's just so good. So then in troops, we have 10 Hemoxites with Ossifactor, 10 Trueborn, double Blaster Dark Lance, 5 Racks with double Hex Rifle. No, 2 units of 5 Racks with a Hex Rifle Ossifactor. Interesting. 2 units of 5 Witches with Blast Pistols. Great for like objective contesting, things like that. 2 units of 5 Incubi, 2 units of 5 Mandrakes. Excellent. And then a bunch of dedicated transports. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 Raiders, all with Blade Veins. 1 with a Shock Prow, 1 with Splinter Axe, 2 with Phantasm Grenade Launchers, and 1 stock, except for the... Oh no, Blade Veins are just Blade Veins. Did I say Blade Veins? I meant chains. Like there was 1 with chains up there. Yeah, so it's good. I like it. I feel like, oh, you're running 10 Hellions and 2 units of 5 Scourge with Shredders, which I totally missed, apparently. I just skipped right over those. This is a great all-rounder list. You only have the 5 transports. It's not terrible. I would like to see some Venoms in there just because they're easier to hide in some of the terrain. Sometimes you have terrain where you've got like nice L's, and you can put a whole raider or 2 raiders or maybe even 3 raiders hiding behind a building. And then you've got crates, and the raider won't hide behind crates, but a Venom will, right? Especially if you got like the crates and like an L. So a Venom will hide behind some crates, which means that having a mix of raiders and Venoms really helps, especially for the small units of witches. And I get what you're doing. You're putting like 5 witches or 5 racks in with like 5 incubi to make sure that if the raider explodes, you can kill the witches and the racks in there. But that's the only thing that I would kind of maybe look at, is seeing about like maybe dropping that 1 raider, like the random raider, and just making it like a Venom, just to give you some tactical flexibility, But I like the list a lot. I think you've got everything you need. You've got some anti-tank that's mixed in there with blast pistols and whatnot. And then the Hellions, which, like, I love Hellions, but at the same time, I'm like, 10 Hellions. I took them to a tournament recently. I did a write-up on the blog of, I went to an RTT this past weekend, and I went 3-0 with like a real space raid. And it was very similar to like this style of list, but I like, it was toned down. It wasn't like super highly competitive. And the 10 Hellions were great, but I felt like they were too slow in a real space raid. Like, I felt like they didn't have enough reach. So I feel like if I would have taken them out and put my bikes in, the bikes would have been great. Just being able to sit back, bide their time, and then jump, 26 inches out, like turn 2, turn 3, or turn 4, and just like totally turn the tide of the game in my favor. But Hellions are efficient. They're pretty good. But I hope that helps with your list there. Okay, Matthew Beavis posted a list as well. Says, "Hi, Skari. This is the list I have been painting up for 8th edition. Now with the new codex points, interested in your general thoughts. Do I need some new 2+ Celestians? Would a single Castigator or Exorcist be an invaluable addition, or simply shut off the table turn 1? Thanks." So we're looking at some Sisters of Battle now, which in my opinion are, like, I love I'm going to go on record here. I like the new Sisters of Battle Codex. There was so many people that I feel like were very hardcore Sisters players, and they like rage quit. They were like, this isn't what I wanted, and they like left. That doesn't make any sense to me. The Codex has like a magical nuance to it, and I think it's like it's it it requires a little bit more forethought to kind of make the combos work, but it's got like tools for pretty much everything. Kadai says, "Hey Skari, thanks for your knowledge. What do you think of the Incubi plus Dark Greed Grotesque combo, minus one leadership, Tormentors, Grizzly Trophies? I think anything that you can do to make that Incubi fight last ability, the Tormentors, go off is great. So Dark Greed is excellent, Grizzly Trophies are excellent, and then having multiples go in is excellent too. Roll multiple times, especially if you have like one big thing. You're like, I need to make sure that fights last. Incubi, Drazar. That's 3 rolls, right? To try and make it fight last with like Grizzly Trophy, Dark Greed is like almost guaranteed to make it fight last. Now you could roll terribly and that would backfire horribly, but it's always good to put yourself in a position where the odds are in your favor. Okay, let's take a look at this, Matthew. So it's a battalion detachment of or Bloody Rose. So 10 Arcoflagellants, a Repentia Superior, a Canoness with Beneficence, okay, Righteous Rage, Celestine and her Gemini, which, by the way, are crazy good right now. There's so many shenanigans you can pull with that. The Triumph of St. Catherine, 10 Battle Sisters, with a bunch of stuff, 10 more Battle Sisters, 10 more Battle Sisters, 30 Battle Sisters in 3 units, a Dialogus, a Hospitaller, a Preacher, 5 Repentia, 8 Repentia, 5 Repentia, 5 Seraphim with Hand Flamers, 10 Zephyrim, 3 Penitent Engines with Buzz Blades, Retributor Squad of 5, and that's it. Okay, great. This is a good collection of models that you have for your Sisters of Battle. And the list isn't half bad. You've got 30 Sisters of Battle that can block out the center of the table. You've got the characters are going to be doing most of the heavy lifting, and then you've got trade units. Now, it really depends in what sort of like way you want to go. The Celestians are fantastic, like the ones with the shields, especially because they have the bodyguard special rule, which helps all characters. As of right now, that means that they can stop folks from shooting at the Triumph, which I think is really good. So you can literally have the Triumph sitting out in the open with a giant base, giving like these aura buffs, and then have like these shield ladies sitting in the back behind a wall, not getting shot, preventing the big 18 wound thing or 16 wound thing from getting shot, right? Which I think is really useful, keeping it alive. I think that what you lack in this list are a few rhinos. I think rhinos are incredibly powerful right now. 2 things in the Sisters book: rhinos and dominions. So the Zephyrim are great. They're a great shock troop, especially if you take Morven Vol and give them reroll hits and wounds, and they just go in and they will nuke pretty much anything they hit. But then you also have the Repentia, the Flagellants, which is crazy, and then like a bunch of Sisters. If you have smaller killy units, so like 4 strong, I don't think you need 10 Flagellants. You can run around with like 2 units of 4, and then have rhinos with 2 units of 4 Flagellants, 2 units of 5 Dominions with Stormbolters, and then like a character like a Dogmata and a Dialogus inside of these rhinos. They can pre-game move the rhinos up, and then it gives you a lot more threat range to like get out and do some damage and things like that. How does that wound work with the 9+ wound rule, says Dral? Well, because they have a special rule where it says you just can't target the character in shooting. It just, as long as she's within 3 of these things, they can't target her with shooting, basically making her invulnerable for shooting. Now, is that going to change in an FAQ? Maybe, I don't know. But as it stands right now, the Celestians can stop you from targeting characters. Doesn't matter how many wound the character has. Be right back, says Dral, buying Sisters. There you go. That's the spirit. So there's some really cool shenanigans. However, I feel like your heavy hitters don't have to be in like such large units. They have the power to kill stuff even in small units. And so what they do is sisters trade really well. So you send 5 flagellants up to kill something, then they die. Then you send 5 Repentii up to kill something, they die. That sort of thing. Now you did ask. Now the penitent engines, I feel like they're a good distraction card effects. Run them up, they flail out, kill something, whatnot. I do. I think that the mortifiers are better, like the ones with the heavy bolters. I think that they're just better in general, because they have more versatility at range, essentially. And I think the flails are much better than the buzzsaws, just in general. Just anything, because they roll lots more attacks, and usually, anything that rolls a lot of attacks tends to be more efficient when you're playing the game. Like it sort of softens the bell curve that is mathematical variance, right? The more dice you roll, the less chances are that it'll be crazy skewed, right? If you roll, it's one of the reasons why D6 shot things are terrible. Like you either roll really hot or you roll one shot and then miss with it. So it's like there's very little in betweenness. So rhinos will also keep your retributors alive, or unless you want to put them in reserve or whatever. And as for an exorcist, I really like the idea of a single exorcist in every Sisters of Battle army right now. Just in the back, gonna hit something with melter rockets or conflagration rockets or whatever, and then just having the ability to shoot something out of line of sight. I know it costs command points, but it makes your opponent have to put more resources than they want on like a backfield objective. They can't just leave 5 little dudes on there because that exorcist is gonna nuke them. So they have to put more resources in the back, and therefore they have less stuff to screen with and to stop your big heavy hitters from getting in and doing all the damage that they need to do. So my vote would be for Exorcist, because now you can kind of keep it hidden and it can shoot from out of line of sight with its like rockets without being like totally exposed in the first couple of turns. Like ideally you're shooting at stuff directly, but it's nice to have the option and to switch it around depending on what opponent you are. And of course, I want to be clear here. Was Vol in the list? No, Vol was not in the list. She is awesome. So if you do get Vol as well, I would recommend her for every Sisters of Battle list because she is money. Like she is just incredible. Um, I'm reading these from the point of view of singles, unless people need me to give them like tips for like team events. But in a singles list, you want to have like options for lots of different matchups. Whereas with a team event or a WTC style like matchup pairing style event, you're looking at um, being able to be a little skewed, a little like more focused on one aspect of a list or another, because then you can avoid like your worst bad matchups or soak them up for the rest of the team, in which case you're just playing for a few points essentially. Theo says, organ rockets are scary. No me gusta. Why not? Heaven Steve says, thank you for looking at my sister's list. We'll look into some rhinos, organ rockets, and reduced size killie units for sure. Absolutely, Matthew. For sure. Thanks a lot for submitting your list. I really appreciate it. So that's the main thread with all the I don't think there was a new one posted while I've been chatting here. But we're going to go over to the Discord now and check out all the lists that was submitted on the Discord, which is always really fun. Hello, Caleb. What's going on? Nice to see you. By the way, thank you so much, chat, for hanging out with me today. I really appreciate it. Of course, if you'd like to support the channel, all the links will be down in the description. Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, the Patreon page, that sort of thing. I hope you've been following me on Mini Wargaming while I've been doing a lot of stuff with like the crew at Mini Wargaming, filming lots of videos and things like that. And a huge shout out to them, because anything that I film with them that goes into their Mini Wargaming vault behind the like paywall is something they let me post for my patrons as well, which is awesome. And it's like such a cool concept of being able to collab with them. So I just want to say thank you to them because of all the cool stuff they do for the hobby. Plus, slowly but surely, we will get them to be better at the game. I'm coaching the entire mini wargaming team. Get that? Boom. James Castellani says, "Boo yeah." That's right, James. 100%. It'll be like boom, like my Void Ravens boomed your Tyranids last night. Mwah, 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 mwah. Theo says, they need you for that. No, it's good. They're a great group of guys there. They're awesome. Okay, let's go to Discord here before I get carried away as well. If you haven't clicked that like button, take some time, use your little mouse thingy and hover it over the thing that says like, click it, helps the channel. Okay, let's take a look at the list crunch. Quite a few lists in the list crunch today. Have to scroll all the way up here. Where are they? There we go. Okie dokie. Friday 4 p.m. ish is what I stated. Oh, there we go. Already lots of people posted before I even started the thread, which is amazing. Okay. Good afternoon, Jared Renlor. What's going on? Click that button or the agonizer comes out, says Captain Athenos. Exactly. That's right. You know what's good for you, or you'll get my respect. North of the wall. Battalion detachment. Battalion detachment north of the wall. It is a Cultist Strife, Spectral Look of Murder, Cabal of the Blackheart, and a Artists of the Flesh. So we're looking at another real space raid detachment. Now I do want to talk about the difference between real space raids / triple patrol. With the real space raid detachment, you usually save 1 command point. So you're starting with 10 instead of, or 9 instead of 8. So that really helps. I think there's some really cool building concepts that you can use with the real space raid detachment. And I have been exploring the real space raid detachment more competitively. As always, of course, I will be going over my latest cooked up list that I've been kind of working in my brain. So I hope you stick around for that so we can go over it at the end as well. And if you have any questions, put them in the chat or a comment down below. I'll get to that as well. So we have Alliance of Agony, 2 Prizes of the Dark City. So 2 and so it's 3 CP. Start with 9 in this case. Archon, Ancient Evil, Splinter Pistol, Gin Blade, Warlord. Okay, so it's pretty standard. Kill the Archon with Fight Lost, but not super killy, so no hatred. A Homunculus Master with the Nightmare Doll for a 4-up Feel No Pain, and an Alchemical Maestro, okay? Making him harder to kill. And then he comes back to life on a 2+. Okay? Then we have, and he's -1 damage. Then we have the Adrenalite Quicksilver Fighter Succubus, not a master, by the way, with the Triptych Whip and Quicksilver Fighter. So pretty standard stuff there, and you are using Cultist Strife. Okay, so Cultist Strife, Quicksilver Fighter for the, I believe it's the Transhuman, or the harder to hit or whatever, and then the Triptych with some attacks. Nothing crazy. Not using Book of Rust because you don't have a Book of Rust patrol. At least I haven't seen one just yet. And I'll get to your questions in a second, chat. Then we have 10 Hemoxites or 9 Hemoxites. 9 Hemoxites. 5 Cabalite Warriors, no upgrades. 5 Witches, no upgrades. 2 × 5 Grotesques. Okay, so 2 big blocks of Grotesques. 1 unit of 10 Hellions. 5 Scourge with Shard Carbines, and 2 × 3 Talos, Macro Scalpel, Ichor Injector, Heat Lances. Great. And then 3 Raiders with just no upgrades. 2,000 points. Well, I'll tell you right now that the 6 Talos and 10 Grotesques is enough to really put most people on the back foot if they don't have tools for it, especially when they're -1 damage, which with the 5-up Feel No Pain is an incredible change in math against lots of 2 to 3 damage weapons. It's crazy how much it changes, especially in close combat, because a lot of Power Fists or Thunder Hammers or things like that all of a sudden you can actually save against a lot more, especially with the Talos and Grotesques. The Heat Lances are low-key incredible especially into the AdMech matchup, where a Heat Lance is strength 8 and it's d6 plus 2 damage. So if you're shooting at like Adeptus Mechanicus chickens or things like that, there's a 50-50 shot that shot will just kill a chicken, right? It's a 4+. On a 4+, it does 6 damage, which means 50-50 shot goes through the invul, 50-50 shot, you just kill a chicken, which is better than a Dark Lance, like much better than a Dark Lance. So I really like that as well. 1, 2, yeah. Well, it's about the same. You need a 5 or 6 to kill it with a Dark Lance. So Heat Lances into AdMech are actually like statistically better, which is really cool. I really like this concept. However, if you are taking a Master Archon and you are not taking Trueborn, you are missing out. Trueborn are phenomenal. They are one of the top performing units in my list every single time. So do yourself a favor if you're playing Dark Eldar, you see that Master Archon, click on it, and then click on Add Trueborn, and that's like your HQ and your troop. Like that is, and then 2 Blasters Dark Lance. Like every single time, it's worth every penny. And now onto the questions that relate to this. But thank you for your list, North of the Wall. I really like that concept there as well. Hemoxites are great, by the way. I love Hemoxites. Jared says the beatings will continue until morale improves. Hilarious. Augustus says, I like that the new systems of battle are more balanced than the new AdMech. Okay, fair enough. I need more matchups against the AdMech to kind of give you a full solution of that, but there's some pretty nasty stuff coming out of AdMech right now. Kayla says, is it true you can have a Homunculus, Dark Creed, Prophets, Rack unit, plus Artifice Raider, and the Real Space Raider, they all count? No. You pick one, take one, and that's what counts. Other than that, I might be wrong, but that's how I would play it, because the other stuff is, I think you pick one of each, and then that's the thing that gets the obsession. New Sisters book is great. A lot of balance within the new book itself, I find. Well, we could discuss that later, Caleb. It's not how I would play it. Telor says, Obsession, Cabal, the Obsidian Rose. So it's the next list. Awesome. Thank you, Telors. So you have an Archon with a Blast Pistol, Hatred Eternal, Huskblade, Ginblade with Splintered Genius. Okay, so a Master Archon. A Cabalite Trueborn unit, 2 Blaster Dark Lance. Cheers to that. This is Juice now. I've switched to Juice. Daniel says, if you move with a Trueborn, does the heavy weapon go up in ballistic skill? No. Trueborn shoot without modifiers to ballistic skill or to shoot. They just always hit on 2s in shooting. Doesn't matter how many negative modifiers they get to hit, which is crazy. Or even like a Calexis is like, you can only hit me on 6s. They don't care. They just hit on 2s. Another Cabalite Warrior unit, 5 strong with a blaster, 1 Raider with a Phantasm Grenade Launcher and Splinter Axe. Cool. Another Raider and another Raider with Splinter Axe. Prophets of Flesh, I'm assuming a patrol, with a Homunculus, with the Vexator Mask, Twisted Animator, and Twisted Animator is a Warlord trait. Here it seems like you put 2 Warlord traits on the same Homunculus. So you'd have to pick either Twisted Animator or Alchemical Maestro. So one or the other. You can't have both. 10 Hemoxites with 2 Ossifactors and an Electrocorrosive Whip with a Hex Rifle. Expensive, but durable. 5 racks with a whip, and then 15 racks. Oh no, 5 racks. Oh, this is a 20 strong. Okay, 20 racks with a whip, 4 Ossifactors, and then 15 regular racks. Just a blob of them. Good. And then a Poison Tongue detachment with another Master Archon. Another Cabalite Warrior unit, Trueborn, 2 Blasters Dark Lance. So these are going for the double Trueborn here. 2 units of 5 Mandrakes, 5 Scourge with Shredders, 2 Void Raven Bombers with Dark Sides. My hat off to you. Void Raven Bombers, by the way, are amazing. I'm running 3 of them in my list that I'll be going over later today. And they're so good. And then 2 Venoms with double Splinter Cannon. I really like your list. You've got Poison Tongue, you got Obsidian Rose, and you got a bunch of like Homunculus stuff. I prefer the witches over the Homunculus in a lot of cases. However, you're going for like some toughness stuff, some board control with the big block of racks, and then like very effective shooting with the Trueborn and the Raiders with some like Venoms, and of course the Void Raven bombers, which you just need two of them in like a singles list, but two of them can just throw your entire opponent's army for a loop. Because if they bunch up and you go first, you can literally win before the end of the movement phase. It's crazy. Those Void Raven bombers are absolute madness. Absolute madness. But I really like that list. Thank you very much for posting it. Yeah, it's good. I like it. I love that you put the mandrakes in there. That just alone makes it. Now, the only thing I would potentially do is instead of taking Prophets of Flesh, you could do Dark Creed, because then that large unit of racks, the 15 racks with the 4 ossifactors, you can spend the 2 CP to snipe with those ossifactors and shoot a character dead, which is really good against like new AdMech. You can kill like a marshal or something. Like he pops his head out. I'm giving rerolls to everyone. And you go, an esoteric kill delivered from afar. And then you send 4 ossifactors his way. Hits on 3s, wounds on 2s, AP3, 2 damage each. 2 go through, dead. Okay. And you can kind of move on. It's really, really good. Scott, I'll get to your question in a second. But that's a great list. I like it. It's very similar to what I would play. Pixel Reaper says, after your advice on Meta Monday, which is another Patreon show that I do every Monday, we just sit down, chat meta, talk lists, go over Q&A, like an AMA Q&A, which is really cool. I came up with this list. Any pointers? So this is Pixel posting up a list. Awesome. Blackheart Patrol with an Archon, Master Archon, Helm of Spite. Yep. 10 Trueborn, Phantasm, 2 Blasters Darklance, and a Blast Pistol. Don't need to do Blast Pistol Phantasm. You can only shoot one or the other. So if you're going to give an upgrade to the Sergeant, give him one or the other upgrade. I personally like the Phantasm over the Blast Pistol because it synergizes well with the range of the other weapons. But you could just do Blast Pistol because, save yourself those 5 points. 2 Void Raven Bombers with Lances. Oh, I'm a huge fan of the D sides. The dark sides are amazing. Poison Tongue Patrol. Another Master Archon and Drazar. 10 more Trueborn. Same thing here. Save yourself either the Blast Pistol or Phantasm. 2 units of 5 Mandrakes, 4 Raiders with Dark Lance Phantasms. I don't think you need that many Phantasms, especially if you don't have Grizzly Trophies everywhere. If you have Grizzly Trophies, then Phantasms are more useful. If you don't have Grizzly Trophies or Dark Creed, like the combination from -3 leadership, Phantasm Grenade Launchers go way down like damage potential, so you don't really want to spend the points on them. And then a Strife Patrol, Succubus, Triptych Whip, Precision Blows, cool. Master, 10 Blood Brides, and then 9 Reaver Jet Bikes with Heat Lances and Grav Talons. Good. I don't think you need Blood Brides. If I were you, I'd say cut the points on the Blood Brides, cut the Phantasm Grenade Launchers out, cut all of the Phantasm Grenade Launchers, make the Void Raven Bombers have Dark Sides. You don't really need the missiles on them, and then potentially put in like, I don't know, 5 Scourge or something. I think you might be able to squeeze in some Scourge in there for some actions and deep striking and just being annoying. But other than that, that's a good list. Can't wait to hear more about it. Okay, let's go back to chat. Charles says, juice equals tears and blood from Skari's vanquished foes. Cheers to that. That is definitely me. Scott asks, what would you fear from Death Guard if you were Drukhari? Death Shroud Terminators? I think that's the thing I fear the most because they have flamers, and those flamers are nasty. That and flesh mowers. The little flesh mower tanks, those things are terrifying. And if a Death Guard player is smart and keeps them back and hidden, and I can't shoot them with my Trueborn, that's even more terrifying. So those would be the things I'm the most scared of. A good way to nerf Drukhari and AdMech would be Dark Lances and Cognis Last Scanner to do damage D6. Yeah, makes sense. We'll see. I kind of like the new mechanic for lances and last cannons. Dark Lance, Dark Creed, Scourge. Well, Scourge can't be any Coven, Cabal, or Witch Cult, so they're just Scourge. But if you're going to take them with weapons, you can put them in a real space raid detachment with a Writ of the Living Muse Archon to give them reroll ones to hit and to wound, which is great for things like Shredders. It's great for things like Dark Lances or Blasters, that sort of thing as well. Edu posted a list as well. Okay, let's take a look at this. A real space raid detachment battalion. Very cool. Well, I like this format that you sent it in. It's kind of neat. As well. Hey, Scott, thank you so much for the super chat. Really appreciate it. Thank you so much for the support. I really thank you. So we have a real space raid battalion detachment with an Archon, Ancient Evil, Writ of the Living Muse. Didn't I just say that? Succubus, Show Stealer, Archive Glaive, Blast Pistol. Ooh, interesting. With precision blows. And the Blood Glaive. Ooh, it is Red Grief, by the way. And then an Ancient Master Homunculus with the Master Regenist and the Poisonous Ampule for shutting down some auras. And these are Artists of the Flesh for the -1 damage. 10 Trueborn, Dark Lance Double Blaster. 10 Witches, Blast Pistol, Chardonnette and Impaler. 10 Hemoxites with a Hex Rifle and a Whip. 5 more Racks with a Hex Rifle. 5 more Witches with a Blast Pistol. Court of the Archon, 4 Slith, 4 Urgle, 1 Lamian. Excellent choice. 5 Mandrakes, 5 Mandrakes. If you're going to go anywhere, like to play it multiple games in a row, 2 units of 5 Mandrakes. They're like almost needed just for the tactical options that you get. 5 Incubi, 5 Scourge with 4 Shredders, which is great with the Writ of the Living Muse, by the way. 5 Reaver. Why is that one in red? I don't get it. 5 Reaver Jet Bikes with the Graftal and the Blaster. Ah, you just 5, eh? Chronos with a Spirit Probe. 3 Talos with Heat Lances, Ichor Injectors, and Scalpel, the way I would run them. And 3 Blackheart Raiders, 1 with Splinter Axe. Takes engage on all fronts or hurt the prey, retrieve Octara's data and raise the menace high, abhor the witch, and on the missions take them alive, etc., etc. Gives up all these points. I really like it. The only thing that's kind of like stands out, I would say, is like the Reaver Jet Bikes. It's 115 points. You know, you could potentially put like another unit of Scourge in there. I think that might be better. Or drop the Scourge and make that Reaver Jet Bike unit a little beefier. Like, just increase the value of that Reaver Jet Bike unit by dropping the Scourge. That's just something that I would potentially recommend as well. Spoke to Wargaming and they said I could use the sniping ability with it for the Scourge. Nope, they're not Coven. They cannot use the sniping ability with the Scourge. They don't have the Coven keyword. That's not a thing. Only stuff that has the Coven keyword can be Dark Creed Coven, and they're mercenaries. So Mandrakes, Scourge, they don't get Coven, Cabal, or Cult keyword. So they can't use that stratagem. But thank you very much for the list, Edu. I liked it. That was a good list. The less comments I give on a list, the more like, yeah, that's like it's fine tuned. I feel like we've been working on your lists for a while, so you're kind of getting the hang of like building those lists, which is cool. Keith, my man's Keith, with a list as well. I love it. Let's do this. Undivided Demons. Ooh, we're going dark here. Dark into the demon land. They get included to Archon Auras if they are in real space raid detachment. Yeah, they get included to Archon Auras only to like hit, right? So they get to reroll ones to hit. And that's if you switch it to them, so then it affects them, but only core do, so not Mandrakes don't. But that doesn't mean they get to use stratagems that are specific to a cult. So we have a Lord of Change with the Impossible Robe. We've got Staff of Zinch, the Incorporeal form, Okay, makes sense, and he's exalted. We have Mammon Transfigured with the Contagion Spray and Fist of Decay. We have 20 Bloodletters, 2 units of 3 Nurglings, 5 Beasts of Nurgle, 5 Furies of Nurgle. Then we have a Legion of Emperor's Children, a Patrol. This is out there, by the way. This is like out there. Noise Marines, Sorcerer and Terminator armor with Delightful Agonies, 4 sword. Troops, Noise Marines times 10, 2 Blast Masters, 8 Sonic Blasters, bunch of Terminators, Lightning Claws, Reaper Autocannon, Combi Bolter. Interesting choice on the Reaper Autocannon. Do you really need it? I think you could save those points, put them elsewhere. 3 Bikers with Combi Bolters, Chainswords, a Dreadclaw Drop Pod. So a cool combination of things. It's about 1,600 points. Need some advice to round out the list to shore up the weaknesses. Considering more MSU units for shenanigans, bigger block of Terminators, Combi, added some Melta Plasma, more Beasts of Nurgle, might need some additional cheap units to screen, perhaps Cultists or the solo demon units. Nurglings deploy forward, Noise Marines drop on a flank, Deep Strike Terminator Brick and Sorcerer Bloodletter Bomb, 3rd Deep Strike threat if needed. Yeah. So you could do Keeper's a Secret, for example, if you want to like shore up some like more high pressure stuff. Definitely Terminators. I would go for like 10 Terminators. Combi Plasmas, just like straight up 10 Combi Plasmas. They can double shoot if they need to, that sort of thing. I think that's really useful. And then with the Honor of the Prince, they can like auto make a charge in. I really like the claw, the Dread Claw. They FAQ'd it now where you can actually drop the claw and get out, which makes them really useful. However, if you also use, for example, the relic where you get like reroll wound rolls, I think that could be really useful because then they just get nuts for like a battle round essentially, which is really nasty. And I think you could potentially do like some cultists for some backfield objective holding, for example, or even some like obliterators, right? Did you know you can put obliterators in a Dreadclaw drop pod? That's right. Yes, you can. They can go in one, so you can drop them on turn 1 if you really wanted to. That's another thing that you could look at. High pressure with a bunch of like 2 Dreadclaw drop pods, 1 full of obliterators, 1 full of Noise Marines. Why not? Something we were testing with Mr. Jim Vessel. Keith says, the Relic of Margvalia. Absolutely. It's an apostle only, have to cast the relic during command phase. Okay, so it doesn't really work unless you have an apostle. Apostles are pretty good though, because then you can like cast the like +1 the wound, shooting, and things like that, right? Which can be really, really good. How do I get this handsome man, says the Dutchling, to read my absolute meme of a list? Well, the Dutchling, this is a show where I take patron lists and I review them every Friday. So you can post them on the Patreon page by being a patron, or the Patreon Discord by being a patron. And it's just a little perk that folks get for supporting the content that I do. Yeah, but Keith, I like the list. I feel like there's a couple things you could do in there. Another thing you could potentially do is like Havocs in a Dreadclaw drop pod, like drop the Havocs down and then maybe have like a secondary unit of like, I don't know, Chosen with like Lightning Claws or something. So you could like, if you needed to, keep the Terminators back, then drop the second Dreadclaw with like Havocs to like hose some infantry and then like charge in with like Chosen, and have like a secondary sort of like charging unit style thing, right? So that kind of works really well too. Citizen Cake. By the way, I love that your list is Citizen. Oh, your name on Discord is Citizen Cake. So Daniel, so Daniel, you've had this question. You said, why would they say that I could if you can't? You can't. So if you look at the bottom of the like every unit entry has a list of keywords that they are, right? So Scourge, Theo says, that's me. Yeah, awesome, Theo. I'll get to yours in a second. So a Scourge have, Eldari Drukari as a keyword, and they've got Infantry Fly, Haywire Grenade Core, Blades for Hire, Scourges. Those are their keywords. right? When it comes to like any sort of Coven unit, so for example, grotesques, they're Eldari, Drukhari, and they have this keyword, Homunculus Covens. So when you're, or Homunculus Coven, when you're building a list, that Homunculus Coven keyword gets replaced by Dark Creed or Prophets of the Flesh or whatever. And so when you're looking at the stratagem itself, the stratagem for like the Dark Creed strat is an esoteric kill delivered from afar. So it says, use a strategy when you select a Dark Creed core or Dark Creed character unit. So anything that is Dark Creed, so any Homunculus Coven unit that has been given the Dark Creed keyword, core or Dark Creed character keyword, can then snipe using the esoteric kill. The thing with the real space rated attachment, it lets the Archon's aura ability of reroll ones to hit for Cabal core apply to all real space raider core and blades for hire or whatever it is. So it allows his reroll ones to affect Witch Cult, Coven, and Cabal core. That's kind of how that works. But it doesn't like add additional keywords to stuff like that as well. But I hope that answers your question, Daniel. And sometimes rule people will give you like a ruling off the cuff, or they like the way they interpret it, which is fine. And if that's how they wanted to play at that point, well, then take it. As long as both players were on the same page, you could literally just make up your rules. It's fine. No, I don't care. So, Keith says, not a bad shout. 4 Reaper Cannon Havocs plus Honor the Prince charges. Exactly, right? It's like a little extra, like, super spicy thing you can have in another, like, Dreadclaw drop pod that can come down and do some additional damage, right? Without having to commit your Terminators. So you could bring them down to clear, like, screens, right? Create some, like, pressure, and then once your opponent, like, reacts to that, then bring in the hammer blow of, like, Noise Marines and Terminators, right? Another thing you could do is do something like dreadnoughts, right? Like contemptor dreadnoughts with Volkites or whatever. That's always really good. Like they're just excellent. Like you could take 2 Volkite dreadnoughts, contemptors. That literally shores up almost every hole in every list. At least right now in the meta. Yeah, they say GW. As sad as it sounds, like GW employees and stuff don't always know the rules very well. That's just a well proven fact. Love you, Games Workshop. Thank you for sending me free stuff to review. Yeah, got it off an email. The rules monkeys or whatever. I don't trust that one bit. Because that's not really a question, because that's pretty clear, but I can see how that would work. Yeah, no problem, Daniel. Thanks for the question. I appreciate it. Okay, Theo, take a look at this. This is my first iteration of the list for the Open in Austin. I have lots of destroyers I wanted to use. Try to avoid using all 60 of my warriors because of the time limit on the turns. Fair enough. I didn't want to use all of my time moving. I have a lot more in my collection, so things can be changed if anything seems too subpar. Didn't want to use all of my time moving hordes. Don't know why autocorrect made that say Austin again. And you got me to read that entire thing. Hilarious. Okay, Necron competitive list. Let's take a look, shall we? Now it's funny because I feel like Necrons have a lot of really cool things in their codex, but they sort of like petered out of like the main general discourse of like competitive gaming. I don't know why. I think it's because people are trying to play Necrons like Plague Marines or like Nurgle demons, like slow lumbering, like woke up the table. I feel like you need to play Necrons more like an Eldar player plays Eldar than like a Chaos player plays. Like you need to play more Eldar-y. It's like a weird way to say, but Necrons play really well if you have an Eldar thought process. Battalion detachment of relentlessly expansionist and eternal conquerors. So objective secured on everything, double obsec, and a free move before the game starts. Cool. Then we have a Techno Monster with a cloak and the Hyper Material Ablator. We have a Catacomb Command Barge with the Voltaic Staff, a Resorb, Staff of Light, and the Enduring Will, so -1 damage. That's pretty standard. Good choice there. 1 Chrono Monster with a Lance and the Veil. Cool. Can move a core unit around. Locust Lord, so the choppy Lord with a Res Orb and the Staff of Light. Interesting. Oh, that's the Destroyer Lord. My apologies. I like the Destroyer Lord. He's cool. He's tough too. 5 Immortals, 20 Necron Warriors. Pretty standard stuff with Reapers. 1 Triarch Stalker with a Heat Ray. Surprisingly useful in a Necron list. Like, surprisingly useful. 9 Canoptek Spiders, 6 Canoptek Scarabs, 9 Scarabs, 6 Scarabs, 1 Doomsday Arc, 4 Locust Destroyers and 1 Heavy, and then 4 more Locust Destroyers and 1 Heavy Destroyer. Yeah, well, you're spending, 500 points in Destroyers, 670, 80, 90, so like it's 800 points almost in just those like 10 models, 11 models. It's a lot of points to spend on Destroyers. I will say, though, Destroyers do kill things. They just don't reanimate very well, which means that it's a little tougher to sort of keep them around because of the fact that they, if somebody just is smart, like against Dark Eldar, for example, you just shoot like 1 Destroyer down at a time with like a Dark Lance. You go Dark Lance, dead. It's very hard for that 1 to reanimate because you need to roll like all the 5s to bring it back. And but they do kill things dead. Like Locust Destroyers have an incredible ability to do damage. So if you're putting pressure on the opponent with the Scarabs and then the Necron Warriors, and then of course like your Locust, the Destroyers to like shoot stuff to death, and then the Doomsday Arc for some backfield with the Triarch Stalker, like board control wise, that's pretty cool. I think the only thing you're missing is some like sneaky shenanigans and some good counter charge. So you don't like, other than the characters like the Catacomb Command Barge, you don't really have anything that can charge in and punch something, which is where like Lichguard come into play, or Triarch Praetorians, which are quite good, like, especially with the King, for example. But like Triarch Praetorians could do quite a lot of damage as a punch. So you can keep them back, keep them hidden. If something comes in too close, you can then the hit and then counter punch them out and then continue to push forward. The Scarabs are great, and if you're using them as a forward movement thing, that's awesome. They're really annoying, which then usually gives you enough room to like maneuver, and especially because they're OPSEC, they're really annoying. Oh man, I hate Scarabs so much. Um, and I feel like you could use a death mark, not a death mark, like the gunslinger dude. I think the gunslinger guy is fantastic, so good, especially against all these factions and stuff that have like veils and redeploys and get up in your face and all this stuff. Being able to bring that little dude down and go, okay, the Vanguard or the Rangers veiled up in my face, AdMech, I'm going to bring this guy in. I'm going to shoot you with my pistol and try and turn that 20-man squad into a 14-strong squad with like 1 little dude, right? And I think that sort of technical aspect or element really gives you a leg up in like competitive play. Ablator gives a unit cover outside of 12. Okay, cool. I hope that helps, Theo. I hope that gives you like something to bounce some ideas around. But that's a cool list concept as well. I would like to know, says Jordan, your thoughts about the use of Cultist Strife stratagem in the real space raid detachment. Well, you need to have an additional detachment to then use the stratagems on Cultist Strife in the real space raid detachment. So you're buying a real space raid detachment and then additional patrol. That other patrol that's only Strife unlocks the stratagems. But if the witch units inside the cult of the real space raid are Cultist Strife, you can use those stratagems on the Cultist Strife because they're keyword dependent. But it does mean you're paying 2 CP to unlock on like the patrol. So if you're going to do Strife, I highly recommend you do the multiple patrols. If you want to do a real space raid detachment, I highly recommend Cursed Blade or Red Grief instead. Hey, Alexander, what's going on? Nice to see you. Really appreciate it. Interesting thought on the hex mark. Might have to grab one. Yeah, I think he's really, really useful. Yeah, no problem, Jordan. I don't know what page you're getting to there, but that's because it's just directly in the Book of Rust right here. In order to get Cultist Strife strats, you need to have a detachment of Cultist Strife, right? It's very, very clear. If your army includes Cultist Strife detachments, you have access to these stratagems. Done. You know what I mean? Interesting. Usually, could potentially be a auxiliary detachment, I think, because it doesn't actually That's cool. Interesting. You could just literally have like a single, well, the way it's written, at least, you could have like an auxiliary detachment of like a single succubus. Ta-da! That actually might be better. Now I'm gonna have to go back and take a look at that. And the Games Workshop app is still broke for Drukhari. Well, that's a shame. Thank you so much, everybody, for continuing to hang in there. And we've got some really cool lists that we're going to continue to go over. And then at the end of this, I'm going to go over my list concoction that I've been thinking about this past week. I'm going to share it with all of you and tell you a little bit about how I made Jim Vessel tap out in 2 turns and how I made my my Tyranid opponent tap out in 2 turns yesterday, which is really fun, James, because he's practicing, but it's just fun to practice. Anyway, stick around. Fun times. Grotworks posted a list as well. This is fantastic. Let's see. Where are we? Where's that list? Oh my goodness, I totally clicked it on the wrong thing here. There we go. Finished listening to the Art of War show with the winner of the ACO, Brad Chester, and his list idea was interesting and close to mine, so I tweaked it for my use. It's called Slapfest. Fabulous. Fabulous. Okay, I understand. Slapfest, 2,000 points. Patrol detachment of Obsidian Rose. An Archon with a Power Sword and a Splinter Pistol. 10 Trueborn, Double Blaster Darklons. We've said that a few times. It's worth every penny. 5 Incubi. 2 units of 5 Scourge with Shredders. 4 Raiders with Chain Snares, Grizzly Trophies. Cultist Strife Patrol. Just a regular Succubus. Competitive Edge, Triptych Whip. 10 Witches with a Chardonnay and Impaler. 5 Incubi, 5 Mandrakes. 10 Hellions, 3 Reavers, and then another patrol detachment of Strife, Master Succubus, Dark Lotus Toxin, Precision Blows, and Agonizer, Archite Glaive, and Show Stealer. Yeah, that's Show Stealer. Precision Blows, Dark Lotus Toxin. Okay, interesting. For the Archite Glaive and stuff, I guess. 10 more Witches with a Chardonnay and Impaler. 5 more Incubi, 5 more Mandrakes. Excellent. 10 more Hellions. So you're looking at 20 Hellions, 2 units of 3 Reaver Jet Bikes, 20 Witches, 4 Raiders, 10 Incubi, 10 Mandrakes, yeah. 3 Killy characters, and then the Trueborn, and then 2 units of Shredders. It's a pretty standard list. Like, it's not a terrible list. I feel like the upgrades and stuff on the Witches, the Succubuses, are a little like, if you're gonna do it, like, just go competitive edge, not competitive edge, Precision Blows, Razor Flails, Dark Lotus Toxin. Check that off the box. And then do Triptych Whip, Blood Dancer, right? And have like a really killy Triptych Whip. And you could make them both masters since they're both in separate detachments, which I think is really useful. Like having 2 little succubuses that go around murdering stuff. And of course, the Archon, like, in the list that isn't really doing anything for you. So give him either Ancient Evil and like the Sniper Pistol, or give him like a Blast Pistol. Like, you need to make sure he can go around killing stuff. So like Ginblade Blast Pistol and Ancient Evil, or like Ginblade Blast Pistol, Hatred Eternal, or something like that. So he's like a 3rd little counter charge punch unit. Ancient Evil is just excellent. And then like give him something that you can punch with, like and a blast pistol. Always. Blast pistol on an Archon is fantastic. 5 points well spent. But I hope that helps. Grotwerks. Then we have Carl Malone. Carl Malone. Let's take a look at your list here. What do you think of bringing a Death Guard Greater Blight Drone? 14-inch move helps get engaged on all fronts, yeah, and Weeps is very good against 1 wound models. I do like the Greater Blight Drone, but I feel like you can do the same thing with like just the flesh mowers in a lot of cases. If you are really worried about engaging all fronts or whatever, I'm pretty sure you could take a Dreadclaw. Can you take Dreadclaws as Death Guard? I'm pretty sure you can, because they can take like Legion stuff. So take a Dreadclaw and fill it with, I don't know, 5 Plague Marines, and then like drop it somewhere, or just by itself, just drop it somewhere and get yourself, like your engaged on all fronts point. Or drop it on an objective in the middle of the board and put your contagion down, so that you don't have to worry about that later in the game. Especially if you go first, roll to go first, drop the Dreadclaw down, get your contagion points, move on. Right, get your engage on all point. You could actually get engage on all fronts for 3 points if you drop it like in the middle of the 2 table quarters, and then you disembark them on the other side of the table quarter. Yeah, I think that would be more effective than like a bloat droney thing. So, Carl, we have a Cabal of the Poison Tongue Patrol, Archon, Blast Pistol, Hatred Eternal, Husk Blade, Gin Blade? Yep, cool. So kill the Archon, very cool. 5 Cabalites. Oh, made him a master, but no Trueborn. Yeah, get a Trueborn unit in there. They're so good. 5 Mandrakes, 2 Reapers. Reapers. I have 2 of them. See, I've got 1 here, 1 there. 2 Reapers. They're just sitting right on top of my shelf here. I took them to the tournament, which if you want to read the write-up, go to the Patreon page. It's like a blog post, and you can read it. Anybody can. And it was really... the Reaper was like my lowest performing model. So I see them, I'm like, oh, I want them. I want them to be good so badly. But sadly, they're not as good as they could be. You could like take a Ravager and it's like 10 times better. Like just, it's sad and it's cheaper. A Void Raven Bomber with missiles and lances. Yeah, okay. 4 Venoms, 2 with double splinter all with double splinter cannons. Okay. Then I like those in Poison Tongue. They are excellent. Patrol detachment of Prophets of Flesh with Urien Rakarth. 10 Hemoxites with double Ossifactor, Whip, and Hex Rifle. 5 more Racks with Ossifactor, Venom Blade, Hex Rifle. Okay. And then a 3rd patrol with Artisans of the Flesh. 1 Homunculus. With 5 Racks, Hex Rifle, Ossifactor, Venom Blade. 5 Racks, same loadout. 1 single Chronos, and then 3 Talos, 2,000 points. With Iker, Scalpel, Heat Lance. At least you got you've got the Talos loadout well. Talos loadout. Hope you're making notes. Twin Heat Lance, Iker Injector, Scalpel. Best loadout for Talos. I think you're spending a lot of points on upgrades on the racks that you don't really need. Like Venom Blades and Ossifactors in the small squads, you don't really need those. So you're saving like 10, 20, 30, 30 points right there, right? And then if you you can use that to turn the Cabalite Warrior squads into like a big Trueborn unit, and then drop one of the Venoms and turn it into a Raider and something. I feel like something like that would be like more effective. As for the Reapers, Kayla says, how did they fail you? Just the 1 Reaper. It just didn't do any damage all tournament. It was just so underwhelming. So underwhelming. Andrew says, I'm only running the Reapers in my list because of the 2nd profile. Oh, so you're doing them more to deal with like AdMech then. See, in that case, I didn't run into anything that had hordes, so I wasn't able to use it. But that was like my thought process originally, was to take them just in case I run into like a big 20 strong unit of Vanguards or Rangers where they have the second profile, they can just get 12 shots. The thing I found though was that I lacked the rerolls. So like at least being like Obsidian Rose or Black Heart would have been better for the reroll to hit or the reroll to wound in a lot of cases. I think that might be better to put them in that way instead of doing the poison tongue. However, the poison tongue is good for the Void Raven Bomber, right? So, you know, but I'm really curious to see how they do if you do end up playing them against AdMech. Please let me know because I want to use my Reapers. I have two of them right here. They're painted, they're beautiful. I cannot wait. They look great, and it's just shame that I felt so disappointed with their performance. You know, because at the same time, you could put like 2 Shredder Scourge units in for 10 points less, and that's 24 shots, right? 48 shots from 2 units of Scourge for 10 points less than 1 Reaper, right? So if you're looking for like anti-infantry, the Scourge are just like so much better, right? And it's like, Renlord says, please don't make them good. I don't have any of them yet. That makes sense. I put 1 Poison Tongue Reaper in my list for the small TTS tournament. I'll let you know how that does, says Eduardo. Awesome. Thank you so much. Let me know how that goes as well. Duality costs premium. Oh, yeah. Well, Reapers did crazy stuff with like the Dark Tech, and they just got like priced out of oblivion. But then the Tantalus is actually like reasonably costed. It's less than the cost of 2 Ravagers with Dissies, and it's got the transport capacity, and just can't hide because it's so big, right? Jordan says, Dark Techno Chronos, so hot right now. Yep. Yepperunos. Definitely. You let me know, chat. Let me know how that's going. But thank you for posting your list, Andrew. I really appreciate it, Carl. Andrew. Like the list concept is really good. You just kind of like solidifying and conglomerating some of those choices, those unit choices into like, and then kind of trimming some of the fat around, and then you can kind of really get to it with that as well. I don't have any mulch clearing stuff because I don't have witch stuff or Cabalites. Makes sense. Now, if it's I only have this in my list, so I'm using it because I literally don't have anything else, that is 100% a valid point when you're building a list. Like, don't feel bad that you can't build a list that's like optimal if you don't have the models for it, because I know for a fact, and I'm like, I am living proof that you can use the models that you own and just get better out of necessity with the models. So just because Reapers didn't work for me in 3 games doesn't mean they won't work for you in as many games as you play. They might be amazing for you, right? And that's just, it's a matter of perspective in that sense as well. But thank you for posting your list, Carl. I really appreciate it. Okay, Monte, let's go over this. Monte says, another mixed Crafted Eldar Drukhari list. The question I have is whether you think that this list has enough units to run Engage as well as Octarius data. And what would be a good third secondary to choose? If it's not enough units for Engage, where would you start cutting? Okay, fair enough. Let's take a look at this list as well. 1+ saves. We'll take a look at your questions in a second, but these are all Patreon submitted lists as well. So if you want your list submitted, just make sure it's posted on the Patreon page next Friday as well, and we'll be able to take a look at it. Or on the Patreon Discord, I'll be able to take a look at it as well, and when we have some time. So the question I have is whether you think, okay, I already went that. So Cultist Strife Detachment, Drazar, Hatred Eternal Warlord, Succubus, 75 points with Precision Blows, Triptych Whip, okay, and a Master Succubus. Cool, so Triptych Whip, Precision Blows. That's another good choice for the Succubus. 2 units of 5 Witches with... Huh. So you do know that you posted 2 units of 6 Witches, not 5 Witches. Because they're 60 points each here. which means that there's 2 units of 6, not of 5. Now, if you make them 5, which is what I'm assuming you want to do, you can give them each a blast pistol, and then you even save 10 points there. 2 times 5 incubi, 2 raiders with grizzly trophies. Yeah, cool. That makes sense. Then we have, it's a mixed detachment. Cool. So a spearhead detachment of craft worlds with a Farseer Skyrunner, Warlock Skyrunner, 2 times 5 Dire Avengers, 1 unit of Warp Spiders, 2 units of 5 Dark Reapers, 2 Falcons with a bunch of upgrades, and 2 Night Spinners. Interesting. I like the Night Spinners. They're really good. It's what we call the Naden when you add those into your list, basically. The Falcon is decent with the Dark Reapers. Okay, you've got the Farseer and the Warlock to kind of like give them support. You've got the Dire Avengers. Okay, that's fair enough. I do feel like instead of the 2 times 5 Dark Reapers, you should just go for well, I can see why you did, because you did the 2 Falcons. You've put a lot of upgrades on these Falcons. Like dropping the AML, the crystal targeting matrix, the spirit stones, like drop all that stuff. Falcon with a bright lance and a pulse laser, keep it cheap as chips, and then use all the other points. Like I would drop the Dark Reapers to 4 strong each, or even 3 strong each, with like the double shot Exarch, and then use the other points to put in like more warp spiders. If you want to do like engage in all fronts and banners and stuff, more warp spiders. Like every single time. A couple of raiders filled with witches and incubi is decent with some killy characters. That's not a bad thing for some like combat support. Or mandrakes, right? That's another option. Warp spiders are like number 1 option, mandrakes number 2 option. But I feel like you have a couple of good options for that as well, essentially, to kind of like bring it in. But yeah, cutting some of those points there, whatnot, I think really helps. And I think that you'll have the choices to put them in there too. Daniel says, do you think Shredder Scourge are best? But thank you for posting a list. Really appreciate it. I don't think they're the best. I think they're the most efficient as well. I am Carl. That's just my username in Patreon. Oh, okay. Andrew says, I'm Carl. Andrew, Carl. That's cool. You can be one person and the other. It's just confusing when like some people have like one Facebook name, one Patreon name, one Discord handle, then one YouTube name, and it's like the same person, but they're all like a different name. Oh no, should be 5, says Monte. Should be 5. What should be 5? Three man reapers are crazy good. Yes, they are really, really good. Doing the 2-shot Exarch. Yes, that's what we call the Naden. 3 units of 3 reapers and 3 night spinners, or 2 night spinners are like the standard like build for that, which is really, really good. Okay, so I hope you're ready. We're going to go through my crazy list that I've cooked up over the last little bit. And for that, I have to go into my battle roster editor here. Oh no, actually, I've got the actual list that I can literally just like open right here. That is called test. Why? Oh no, I can't do that. Why is it called test? Because it's testing for my opponents to play against. Mwah, wah, 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 wah. The witches should have been 5. Oh yeah, exactly. So then you got like 20 points to save there, Monte, with the witches that you posted in there as well. Okay, so I hope you're paying attention. This is a list that I've cooked up that so far is it's skewed. It's a skewed list, but I hope that you enjoy it. Okay, thank you for tuning in. Of course, if you haven't already, click that like button because I really appreciate it. It helps the channel get noticed. Leave a comment down below. Tell me what your favorite army list was that you've seen so far that we went over today. A huge shout out to the channel Patreons before we go over my list here, without whom I couldn't do what I do for a living. So thank you so much. Your support means more than anything, and I really appreciate it. As well as anybody who watched the show live and commented and chatted and all that good stuff. The links are all in the description, so check those out. Other than that, let's dive into my list, the list that I'm cooking up as well. Right. It is a patrol detachment of Poison Tongue, an Archon with an Agonizer, and a Splinter Pistol. He does have the Ancient Evil, and he is running the Soul Stealer Pistol Relic. Oh yeah, the Soul Seeker Pistol Relic. Sniping pistol. You just watch out. 10 Trueborn with 2 Blasters and a Dark Lance, because why not? 2 units of 5 Mandrakes. 2 Void Raven Bombers with no missiles, but Dark Scythes. And then 2 Raiders, 1 with Splinter Axe, 1 with a Dark Lance, and 2 Venoms with 1 cannon. Then we have a patrol detachment of Dark Technomancers. So we have a single Homunculus with no upgrades, 5 racks with no upgrades, and 2 units of 3 Chronos with no upgrades, just the Siphon. That's it. Just the Flamer. They're Dark Technomancer Chronos, 6 of them. And then a third patrol detachment. Where is this? Why is this not fully filled here? Oh, there we go. Perfect. Okay. And then a third patrol detachment of 1 Succubus with Dark Glows, Toxin, Precision Blows, Razor Flails. 10 Witches with an Agonizer, Blast Pistol, a Shardnet, and Impaler. And I pay the points for Morvane's Agonizer. And another Void Raven Bomber that is Poison Tongue. So a third Poison Tongue Void Raven Bomber with 2 Dark Scythes. That's it. That's the list. You're welcome. Internet, it is absolute madness, I tell you. That list is just bonkers mad. So if you have any comments on the list, I'm still just developing it, but you've got 6 Chronos, 3 Void Raven Bombers, Witches, Trueborn, Mandrakes, a couple of characters, and some Raiders and Venoms. And it just nukes people. It's absolutely, it's brutal. It's fantastic. So I hope you enjoyed that. Last couple of questions. Joey says, "Hi Skari, I played at your your friendly local game store a couple of times. Saying hi from London, UK. Awesome, Joey. Hey, that's crazy how small the world is. That's awesome. What did I say earlier? Chronos are hot right now," says Jordan. Chronos are amazing. What cult on the witches? Cult of Strife, Charles. Cult of Strife. Because if you're going to take a few witches and patrols, Strife is like the way to go. Yeah, I'm running Dark Lotus Toxin and Precision Blows on the Razor Flails, and they just like shock troops. They go in, but it's really about the Void Raven Bombers. Like you just go first, and you have 3 bombs, and then Dark Scythes that just delete things. It's really, really cool. Well, that's all I have for you today. Thank you so much for tuning in, everybody. I've been Skari, your grateful host. If you like the video, make sure you share it, leave a comment. I really, Kalith asks, before I finish, would the Void Raven and Cult Patrol enable to get Obsession and be Poison Tongue? It doesn't have an obsession, but yes, it can be Poison Tongue without taking the obsession from the cult. So it doesn't get the Poison Tongue obsession, which is the poison weapons are better. Doesn't matter. I'm just doing it to get the keyword Poison Tongue, so it can be targeted by the stratagem of redeployment, which then lets me have 3 Poison Tongue Void Ravens, which I can then redeploy if I need. And that's the source. Dark Eldar. Dark Eldar got some cool stuff in there. Thank you so much for tuning in. I've been Skari, your grateful host, signing off until next time. Skari out. The Darkin. Bye, everybody.